In crossing the moat, we're going to create a lever that controls the final floating bridge. Make sure you have your flash drive and your step-by-step project guide. We're going to create a lever and an animation for it. We're going to give the lever an instance variable that allows us to track whether the player has pulled it. And we're going to add events that enable and disable the bridge. Let's get started. We're going to be creating a lever right there that controls the final floating bridge. Let's go to layers, and we want to make sure that game is active and unlocked. Let's create a new object type for our lever. Right click, insert new object. It's going to be a sprite called lever, capital L. When the crosshair appears, make sure it's going on the game layer. We're going to be bringing this in from a sprite strip. So go to the animation frames, import from sprite strip. You need to find the lever 3x1. When the dialog appears, make sure you specify that it's 3 horizontal, 1 vertical, and it's okay to replace the entire animation. We're going to delete the last 2 frames. So we just have frame 0. Right click delete in the animation frames window. Now we need to deal with the collision polygon. We're going to right click and guess polygon shape. And now we need to set our origin point, which is 35, 60. We're going to close this and position it right on top of those 2 grass platforms. Excellent. Let's go back and create the pull animation that plays when the player collides with it. Go ahead and duplicate default, rename it to pull with a capital P, and we're going to bring in the sprite strip from before, the 3x1. Go down, import frames from sprite strip, find the 3x1 lever, horizontal 3, vertical 1, and replace the entire animation. Now we need to set the origin points. For frame 0, the first frame, it's 35, 60. For frame 1, the second frame, 36, 65. And for frame 2, the third frame, 38, 60. We should be able to preview that and it should look good. Nice. Let's set the pull animation's properties. Make sure that pull is active. We're going to slow it down to 3 frames per second. Loop is no and repeat count is 0. Red X to close. We need to be able to track our lever. So right click and we're going to add an instance variable. It's going to be called pulled. It's a Boolean that's going to track whether the lever's been pulled. So let's add an instance variable, give it the name pulled. It's going to be a Boolean because whether it's pulled is a true, false, on, off type of thing. Initially it will be false. And for a description, whether the lever has been pulled. When the game begins, I want the final floating bridge to not be moving. I want it to be disabled, and I want pulling the switch to activate its horizontal movement. We need to find the unique ID of the floating bridge at the end of your game. Mine is 143, so make sure you write that down. Now we're going to write the code that disables this. Go to level 1 event sheet, and we're going to add a new group. We're going to call it start of level 1. In start of level 1, we're going to put in that on start of layout event, that special trigger that fires once at the beginning of a layout. For description, events and triggers that occur at the beginning of the level 1 layout only. That's why we're putting it in the level 1 event sheet. Move it to the very top. And now we're going to create that special event, the one that starts at the beginning of the layout. Click Add Event, System, and find the on start of layout condition. Let's bring that into our start of level 1 event group. We're going to add a sub-event to this. Our sub-event is going to disable our last floating bridge. Right-click Add, Sub-event. Find the bridge, and we're going to pick the unique ID. Mine was 143, yours might be something else. So on start of layout, find the bridge with a unique ID of 143, and what do we want to do? We want to disable its sign behavior. Go to Add Action, choose Bridge, and scroll down to Bridge Side to Side and set to Inactive. Notice how when you play the game, the final floating bridge is not moving at all. With all that taken care of, we need to add the events that control our lever. Go to the level 1 event sheet. Let's add a new group. Let's call it Lever. And for description, events and triggers that control the lever and access to the final floating bridge, because that's exactly what will be in this event group. We're going to add the event that controls the player colliding with the lever. So let's add event and choose our player. Remember, our player's behind the scenes. That's still what the user's controlling. Go to On Collision with another object when it collides with the lever. We're going to add another condition. We only want this event to fire if the lever has not been pulled yet. So go to Lever. Under Instance Variables, go to Is Boolean Instance Variable Set. Pulled. We only want this to fire if it has not been pulled. So let's invert it. So if the player collides with a lever and the lever has not been pulled yet, then perform actions. Which actions to perform? We are going to set the lever to be pulled, first of all. Go to Lever. Under Instance Variables, set Boolean. Set pulled to true. Next, we are going to start the pull animation. Lever, animation, set animation. Which one? Capital P, lower ULL. And drag this inside of the lever group. Let's add the event that activates the bridge. Add event, lever, on finished, pull, when the pull animation is finished. Let's add another condition. Let's filter for the bridge we want. Choose bridge, pick by unique ID, and put in the ID of your bridge. Mine was 143. When the animation pull is over, and only if the bridge is 143, we want to perform the action. Bridge, set active, the bridge side to side sign behavior. Bring this event into the group. Let's test to see if after the lever's pull animation is finished, whether our bridge is activated. Move the player. Feel free to move the final floating bridge. And we're going to run the layout to test. If we collide with a lever, it should activate the bridge, but only the bridge we specified. Don't forget to save your game and double check it against the project guide.